So children, today we will start with the next topic, and that topic is amphibolic reaction. We have done with the respiratory balance sheet, and in respiratory balance sheet we came to know that there are 38 ATPs produced, out of which 2 ATPs are utilized in transferring the pyruvic acid from the cytoplasm to the mitochondria where the Krebs cycle takes place. So in all, we know that during the aerobic respiration, 38 ATPs are produced. Out of these 38 ATPs, glycolysis yields 8 ATPs. Oxidative decarboxylation was also a process. Anybody remembers how many ATPs were produced as a result of oxidative decarboxylation, children? Yes, oxidative decarboxylation, 2 NADH2 are produced, so 6 ATPs are produced here. And the third one is Krebs cycle. In Krebs cycle, 1 pyruvic acid yields you 12 ATP. So 2 pyruvic acids which are produced by glycolysis, they carry out double circles of two Krebs cycles are done. 2 Krebs cycles are done, and one yields 12 ATP. So one more Krebs cycle is there. So another Krebs cycle, which is the second Krebs cycle. First Krebs cycle yields you 12 ATP. Second, pyruvic acid, when it undergoes the Krebs cycle, it also yields you 12 ATP. So in all, we get 24 ATPs as a result of Krebs cycle. So 8 ATPs here, 6 ATPs here, and 24 ATPs here. So in all, we get 38 ATPs. So the net production, total ATPs produced are 38 ATPs. And out of these 38 ATPs, 2 ATPs are utilized. 2 ATPs utilized in transferring pyruvic acid from cytoplasm, where it undergoes the process of glycolysis, to mitochondria to perform the process of Krebs cycle via oxidative decarboxylation. As a result, how many ATPs are left? So if we take the net ATPs produced as a result of aerobic respiration is 36 ATP, because 2 are utilized. So 36 ATPs are produced as a result of the aerobic respiration. Now we come to the next topic, which is amphibolic pathway. So the next topic is amphibolic pathway. We come to the next topic, amphibolic pathway. So here, amphibolic pathway. What is amphibolic pathway? See, there are two terms, if you have done before. The two terms are anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism and catabolism. There are two terms, anabolism and catabolism. Anabolism is constructive processes in which some synthesis takes place, and catabolism is destructive process in which some breakdown takes place. So anabolism is constructive process, and in this process synthesis takes place. whereas catabolism is destructive process. And in this process, what takes place? Breakdown. So one process is anabolism, another process is catabolism. I got a message from somebody. I couldn't read that message. Can you send the message again? I don't want to go back because I'll have to set the camera again then. Yes, bache. If we get question that what is the total number ATP split, then we will have 38. You can write down 38 and then you can write down 2 are utilized for transferring this from there to the I've been connected. Now do I have to Priya, already I have given this task to somebody else. Tomorrow you can do. Okay. So if you write 38 and when you write 38 along with that you write, ma'am, if it's a MCQ question, I think you should write 38 ATPs. 38 ATPs. I think in MCQ also they will give the 2 options, or they can give one option out of the 2, either 36 or 38. You can, if both the options are given, go for 38. Go for 38 because that is ultimately, or I'll just let you know. I'll let you know. Don't worry. 36 or 38, if both are given, then in that case, what to do? Fine. So here, one is destructive process, another is constructive process. And in destructive process, see, either the destructive process takes place or the constructive process takes place in many processes. But in the respiratory pathway, when we see the respiratory pathway, in this respiratory pathway, both the processes takes place together. Both processes. When I say both processes, I'm talking about anabolic and catabolic. Both processes take place simultaneously together. And because both the processes takes place together, we call this pathway amphibolic pathway. Now you will say where the catabolism takes place, where the catabolism takes place, where the anabolism takes place. See, catabolism, respiration itself is a catabolic process. There is the breakdown of various substances. It can be carbohydrates, it can be proteins, or it can be the fats to release energy. So it is basically a catabolic process because energy is released by the breakdown of various nutritive substances. But at the same time, it is an anabolic process because many large big compounds are also formed, right? Glucose 6-phosphate, fructose 1,6 biphosphate, all these compounds are formed. So we can say that it is anabolic also, like glucose 6-phosphate or fructose 1,6 biphosphate, fructose 1,6 biphosphate, glyceraldehyde 6-phosphate, dihydroxyacetone phosphate, dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So these some big compounds are formed. So formation, because of formation of these big compounds, we say that it is anabolic process. Why catabolic? Because the breakdown of the substances like carbohydrates, like proteins, like fats, they release energy, and because of that breakdown we call it catabolic. So when both the processes they take place simultaneously together, we call such a pathway amphibolic pathway. So in that case, respiratory pathway can be considered as and amphibolic pathway, because both the processes are taking place together, amphibolic, anabolic and catabolic. That is why we are calling the respiratory pathway amphibolic pathway. Now what happens, how can we describe that it is a amphibolic pathway? For that we will write some reactions here. Why this pathway, why respiratory pathway is considered as amphibolic pathway, where catabolic reactions and anabolic reactions takes place simultaneously together. So why this is considered, this I'm going to tell you now. See, the form of energy, how do we get energy? We get energy by the breakdown of carbohydrates, proteins or fats in our body. Out of these three nutrients, when we consider carbohydrates, fats or lipids and proteins, out of these, first of all, during starvation or when the body requires energy, during the energy requirement, first of all, the carbohydrates are broken down. The first nutritive substances which are broken down to release energy are carbohydrates. After carbohydrates, it is fats which are broken down to release energy, and then comes the proteins which are broken down to release energy. So always these are the carbohydrates first which are broken down, which undergo oxidation to release energy. Now, how this amphibolic pathway it takes place and how the breakdown of various nutritive substances, they are interlinked. This table is very well given in your book on page number 236, figure number 14.6. In the NCERT book, page number 236, figure number 14.6 describes all these cycles very well. Now what happens here? Suppose we have carbohydrates, and I am writing it in short CHO, which means carbohydrates. We have fats and we have proteins. We have carbohydrates, we have fats, and we have proteins. How all these three, their breakdown, their oxidation is interlinked, and how they help in production of energy, this is what I'm going to tell you now. Now what happens to these nutritive substances, to these molecules, biomolecules? First of all, let's start with the carbohydrates. Here, let's take the carbohydrate to be glucose. So if we consider glucose, which is a form of energy, this, you know that what happens, first it undergoes the complete process of glycolysis takes place, during which it is converted into glucose 6-phosphate, fructose 1,6 biphosphate, dihydroxyacetone. If you remember, there were 10 steps of glycolysis. So complete process of glycolysis takes place here, as you know. You remember the process of glycolysis, beta? You remember the process of glycolysis, when the glucose is broken down, how it undergoes the process of glycolysis, which includes 10 steps. Now what happens? In short, it is given, it forms glucose 6-phosphate, then it forms glucose 1,6 biphos. Many steps are there in between. In between there are many steps, and finally glucose 1,6 biphosphate. This is formed, and this undergoes the splitting, and as a result of splitting, it forms two compounds. One is dihydroxyacetone. If you remember, this was produced, dihydroxyacetone phosphate, and glyceraldehyde 6,3-phosphate is formed. Here, as a result of splitting, glyceraldehyde, which I wrote only glyceraldehyde, or glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is formed. Both are 3 carbon compounds. This was formed. Here splitting took place. So it's not, we have to make it like this, because splitting took place here, and glucose 1,6 biphosphate, it's splitted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now, after many steps, you know, finally what did it form? Many steps took place, and finally we got pyruvic acid. 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid was formed. as the end product of glycolysis. So this is complete process of glycolysis which resulted in the formation of two molecules of pyruvic acid. Then after this, there was another step which is known as gateway step. If you remember, I told you oxidative decarboxylation or gateway step. And as a result of this gateway step, acetyl coenzyme is formed, acetyl coenzyme A, and this acetyl coenzyme A then enters the Krebs cycle, if you remember. This enters the Krebs cycle. So Krebs cycle took place here, which resulted in the production of ATPs. Okay, 24 ATPs. So this is how the complete cycle took place from here to here. From here to here, till the pyruvic acid formation. It's glycolysis, and then gateway step, oxidative decarboxylation, and then Krebs cycle. This was how the carbohydrate molecule was oxidized, or it underwent the respiratory pathway, and finally it resulted in the production of some ATP molecules. This is what happens with a carbohydrate, with carbohydrates in our body. Now, what happens? The second biomolecule which provides us energy after carbohydrates is our fats. Now, what happened to fats? Fats, first of all, during respiration, it breaks down to form fatty acids and glycerol. So what is formed is fatty acids. Breakdown has taken place and glycerol is produced. So first of all, breakdown of fats into fatty acids and glycerol takes place. Now, this out of these two, fatty acids and glycerol, fatty acids go other way and glycerol goes other way to produce energy. What happens? These fatty acids, they undergo beta oxidation. So the fatty acids undergo beta oxidation, and as a result they form acetyl coenzyme. So here they have gone, and from here they enter. So they undergo beta oxidation. I'm writing here beta oxidation. These fatty acids undergo beta oxidation, and as a result of beta oxidation, they get transformed into acetyl coenzyme, and this acetyl coenzyme then enters Krebs cycle, and so much energy is produced. See, here as a result of oxidation, and here 2 NADPH here, and NADH2 here, and then Krebs cycle. So this much energy is produced as a result of fatty acid oxidation. Then where does the glycerol enters the aerobic pathway? Where does, out of these two components which are formed as a result of breakdown of fats, that means fatty acid and glycerol, out of the two, the fatty acids enter the respiratory pathway by undergoing beta oxidation and forming acetyl coenzyme. Then that acetyl coenzyme through gateway step enters the Krebs cycle. But from where does the glycerol, which is a component of fat, enters the Krebs cycle? This glycerol enters the Krebs cycle when this gets converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So this glycerol, through many steps, many processes, many steps, it gets converted into, I'll make it here, it gets converted into dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Then this dihydroxyacetone phosphate gets converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which then finally after 3-4 steps forms pyruvic acid, and then pyruvic acid undergoes gateway step, then forms acetyl coenzyme, and then enters the Krebs cycle. So this is how the glycerol enters the Krebs cycle, that is through the dihydroxyacetone formation, which gets converted into glyceraldehyde. This gets converted into this, then all the steps of glycolysis, then pyruvic acid, 2 molecules, and then gateway step, then it forms acetyl coenzyme, and then finally Krebs cycle. So this is how the glycerol produces energy as a result of respiration. So we have done carbohydrates, how the glucose produces energy. It undergoes the complete pathway of respiration, aerobic respiration, how the fatty acids, they enter this chain, how the glycerol enters the chain, we have done. We come to the third biomolecule, which is a source of energy and which is broken down, after carbohydrates and fats, and that is protein. Now, what happens to the proteins? As you know, when the proteins are broken down, they give amino acids. Now, how do they provide us energy? These amino acids, which are the components of proteins, how do they provide this energy to us? So what happens? Now, what happens here? These proteins, they get converted into amino acids. So amino acids have been formed from the proteins. Now these amino acids, they undergo a process which is known as deamination. This is D beta, deamination. We have done this process when we were studying. Okay, that chapter is not included. I think mineral nutrition, there is transamination and deamination, which we have not done. But let me tell you the meaning of deamination. Deamination means removal. D means removal. Removal of amino group from the amino acid. So what happens in deamination? Amino group is removed from amino acid. Amino group is removed from amino acids. When this amino acids, they remove the from the amino acids, when amino group is removed, they change into pyruvic acid. They get converted into pyruvic acid, and so they form pyruvic acid. So deamination takes place here when the amino acids are converted into pyruvic acid, and thus the proteins enter the aerobic respiration. So proteins get broken down to form amino acids. These amino acids, they remove their amino groups from them and get converted into pyruvic acid. So these pyruvic acid then undergo the gateway step. They pass through the gateway step when they change into acetyl coenzyme, and then finally they enter the Krebs cycle producing 24 ATPs. So this is how the proteins, they enter the aerobic respiration. So we have done all the three biomolecules which produce energy as a result of a respiratory process. Now I'm saying that it is an amphibolic pathway. Why am I saying it is an amphibolic pathway? Because here anabolism and catabolism both are taking place. Anabolism means construction, synthesis of big compounds like dihydroxyacetone phosphate, like glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, like pyruvic acid, acetyl coenzyme, glucose 1,6 biphosphate. So such big compounds are formed. So that is why this is a something is being synthesized. So we call it anabolic process. At the same time, the biomolecules, they are broken down by various processes, deamination, beta oxidation, and here also they are broken down, and finally they release energy. So some destruction is also taking place. So because of that destruction, we call anabolism and catabolism. Catabolism is destruction. Catabolism is taking place, that means destruction. Destruction means breakdown is taking place to release energy. So breakdown of biomolecules to release energy. This is also taking place. So we call it catabolism. Anabolism, synthesis is taking place. Some large compounds are synthesized. Large compounds are synthesized. So we call it anabolic pathway, anabolism. So both are taking place simultaneously together. That is why this is known as amphibolic pathway. Is it clear to you, beta, amphibolic pathway? Yes. I want your response quick so that I can start with the last topic of the chapter, respiratory quotient. Yes. Okay, it's clear to everybody. I've got the message. We start with the last topic of the chapter, which is respiratory quotient. So here I start with the next topic, which is respiratory quotient. Now, what is respiratory quotient? RQ, or we call it respiratory quotient. Respiratory quotient is the volume of CO2 evolved over the volume of CO2 consumed. See, what is consumed? Volume of CO2 evolved. CO2 is evolved, that we all know. And what is consumed? Volume of O2 consumed. This gives you respiratory quotient. Now, what is the importance of this respiratory quotient? Why this respiratory quotient is done? So, the importance of this is, first of all, it helps in determining respiratory substrates, that which respiratory substrates are involved in the biochemical reaction. We come to know that what are the reactants, whether it is a carbohydrate metabolism which is taking place, or a protein metabolism which is taking place, or it is a fat metabolism which is taking place. So we come to know about the respiratory substrates or the reactants. We come to know which metabolism is taking place. So it helps in determining respiratory substrates. Its importance I am writing. The first importance it helps in determining the respiratory substrates. When we say that it helps in determining the respiratory substrate, that means we come to know the type of metabolism. That is, we come to know the type of metabolism which is taking place. The type of metabolism. That is, whether it is carbohydrate metabolism which is taking place, or it is protein metabolism which is taking place, or it is fat metabolism which is taking place. We come to know about it. That which metabolism is taking place by knowing the respiratory